The ocean had a way of swallowing sound. Even inside a steel research base buried 7 miles beneath the surface, silence felt deeper than darkness. Most days, it wrapped around me like a blanket. Tonight, it felt like a warning. My name is Elias Ward, marine engineer and, at least as far as I knew, the last man left in Deepwave Station. A month ago, the rest of the crew evacuated during a seismic event. I stayed behind to finish repairs on the generator cores. Then the elevator shaft collapsed. The submersible vanished from sonar. And every transmission I sent up to the surface came back the same. No signal. Before we go deeper into this story, subscribe to Last Signal for more sleep stories like this, and comment where you're watching from. It truly helps this channel grow. I sat alone in Control Room B, listening to the low hum of oxygen scrubbers and the dull throb of water pressure against the hull. Outside the reinforced glass, the ocean was a dark smear. Empty, endless, unknowable. I told myself I was used to the quiet. And then the knock came. A single, heavy thud, deep enough that I felt it in my ribs before I heard it in the walls. I froze. Not movement in the pipes. Not metal contraction. Not shifting pressure. Something had hit the exterior of the base. I waited, breath shallow. Another knock. Louder, closer. This time right behind the observation window. My heartbeat quickened. No submarine could have reached us. No diver could survive this depth. And every creature we'd cataloged down here. None of them ever approached the base. I stepped toward the glass, palms sweaty despite the cold. Lights flickered through the water. Slow, drifting, rhythmic. Not bioluminescence. Not emergency strobes. A pattern. 3 pulses. Pause. The exact same sequence I had been sending to the surface for weeks. No, I whispered, leaning closer to the glass. Something out there had answered me. Something in the dark. Something that now knew I was alone. For a moment I didn't move. Every instinct I had, every hour of engineering training drilled into my bones, told me to log the event, activate sensor sweeps, run diagnostics on the hull. But none of that mattered. Because the lights outside the glass moved. Slow, deliberate sweeps across the observation window, as if whatever was out there was looking in. I stepped closer, my breath fogging the reinforced pain. The lights dimmed, then brightened again. 3 pulses. Pause. The same pattern I'd been transmitting into the void for 31 days. Pressure monitors kicked on automatically, their soft beeps echoing in the empty control room. Oxygen scrubbers hummed louder, compensating for the spike in my heart rate. "What are you?" I whispered. I reached for the console, tapping the manual floodlights. They flickered on, sweeping across the seafloor. And something enormous shifted in the beam. A silhouette. Too large to be a submarine. Too smooth to be a rock formation. Too silent to be a living creature of this depth. It wasn't swimming. It wasn't drifting. It was stationary, like it was anchored in the dark. The lights outside blinked again. Pause. It wasn't random. It wasn't natural. It was answering me. My hands trembled as I leaned closer to the console. "Deepwave Station to surface relay," I said out of instinct, even though no one had answered in a month. "Reading anomalous light signal at observation sector. Possible, unknown presence." Static replied, same as always. No signal. But something outside had a signal. Something deep enough, strong enough, aware enough to mimic mine. A soft vibration rippled through the floor. Another knock, gentler this time, more like testing the hull than striking it. My blood ran cold. It wasn't trying to break in. It was trying to communicate. I activated the station's external microphone array, a system meant to capture whale song and subsonic currents. The speakers crackled. A low, resonant hum filled the control room. Not mechanical, not organic. A frequency. A message. My console translated it poorly, but one phrase flickered across the screen in shaky text. "Is someone there?" My throat tightened. Whatever was out there knew I was here. Alone. Trapped. Waiting. I swallowed hard, my voice barely steady. "Yes. Someone's here." The lights outside the window flared brighter. Not aggressive. Not threatening. But almost relieved. As if something in the deep had been waiting too. The hum deepened, vibrating through the soles of my boots. It wasn't painful. Just full. Like standing beside a cathedral organ built out of water and pressure. The console struggled to translate again, text flickering in and out. Long time. Waiting. Answer. Finally. Not alone. A chill crawled down my spine. Nothing in the ocean spoke like this. Nothing in recorded biology, nothing in the station archives, nothing in any acoustic survey. This wasn't Earth language. The translation software wasn't reading words. It was reading intent. Outside the glass, the faint outline shifted again. Slowly. Carefully. As if whatever was out there didn't want to frighten me. The lights, its lights, drifted upward along the curvature of the dome. My breath hitched. It was observing me. "What do you want?" I whispered. 3 pulses in the dark. Pause. My own distress signal, repeated back to me like a question. I answered instinctively, tapping the console in the same rhythm. Pause. The lights outside pulsed in response. A perfect echo. The speakers crackled again. "Hear you. Clearly. You are last. Only. Left?" My stomach tightened. "Yes," I said quietly. "I'm the last one here. The others evacuated after the quakes." I stayed behind. Silence. Then, a soft, almost sympathetic vibration rolled through the seafloor. Not threatening. Not probing. Understanding. The console flickered again. "We know. Loss. We know. Waiting. We come. Because you called." My heart stumbled in my chest. "I didn't call anyone," I said. But even as the words left my mouth, doubt twisted in my gut. For weeks I'd been sending the same emergency pattern upward. A distress beacon into the void. Not meant for anything beneath us. But maybe that didn't matter. The silhouette outside grew clearer as it shifted. Large, geometric, almost architectural. Like a fragment of something ancient. Something built. Or broken. The lights pulsed again, more urgently. Pause. The message translated. Danger. Coming. Pressure. Rising. Not safe. Alone. My blood ran cold. The pressure gauges on the wall snapped into the red. A deep groan echoed through the hull. The kind of sound metal makes before it fails. I staggered backward. "What's happening?" The lights outside surged bright enough to white out the glass. The translation flashed rapidly now. "Time short. We help. If you trust." A final knock reverberated through the bass. Not a warning. A request. Something was offering me a way out. Something that answered my signal. Something that had come from the dark for me. The hull groaned again, louder this time, a deep metallic shudder that vibrated through every support beam in the station. Pressure alarms erupted in a chaotic chorus, red lights strobing across the control room. External pressure rising. Sector 3 hull stress critical. Structural failure imminent. My pulse spiked. Sector 3 was one bulkhead away from where I stood. I looked up at the glass window. The silhouette outside remained perfectly still, an unmoving titan in the cold dark, but its lights flashed with increasing urgency. Pause. Translation flickered across the console. Hurry. Must move. Danger growing. Water coming. I stumbled toward the emergency kit on the wall, grabbing a pressure suit helmet and slamming it onto its locking ring around my collar. My gloves fumbled with the clasps, half from panic, half from the station trembling beneath me. "What's causing this?" I managed. "An earthquake? Another trench collapse?" The speaker crackled violently. Then, "No. Not Earth. Something below. Rising." The floor lurched sideways. I hit the ground hard, catching myself on the grate as a sharp crack split through the corridor beyond the control room. Water sprayed through the seam in a cold, high-pressure mist. Hull breach. A bad one. I scrambled to my feet and slammed my palm on the emergency door control. The bulkhead sealed behind me with a hiss, cutting off the spray of water, but I could still hear it pounding against the other side like an unrelenting fist. The voice outside hummed again, resonating through the base. "Move to docking bay. We wait." "We?" I choked out. There was more than one. The lights outside drifted back, retreating into the deep but leaving a trail of faint illumination, like a path through darkness. I died. My heart hammered as another crack thundered through the metal supports. Panels popped loose. Pipes hissed. Water spilled through hairline fractures along the ceiling. No time left. I bolted down the hallway, boots slamming against steel flooring slick with condensation. The emergency lights flickered overhead, weak and intermittent. The deeper I went into the base, the more it felt like a sinking ship, tilted, groaning, straining under impossible pressure. The ocean was crushing us. Or something within it. When I reached the junction toward the docking bay, the station shook again. Hard enough to knock me sideways into a wall. My ears rang. Behind me, another bulkhead alarm began to blare. Sector 4 breach detected. Reactor coolant flow unstable. Abandoned station. I staggered forward, gripping the rail, lungs burning from the stale recycled air. "Why are you helping me?" I whispered, unsure if my voice carried to the entity outside. The lights in the corridor flickered, and the translation system sputtered to life. "You called." "We answer." "Last one." "Cannot leave you." A lump formed in my throat. I quickened my pace. The station, my world for months, was dying. But somewhere in the dark beyond the glass, something waited for me. Something that understood loneliness. Something that responded to my signal when no one on the surface ever did. I reached the final door leading to the docking bay. It refused to open. Behind me, the metal screamed, and the ocean pressed harder. The docking bay door's red indicator glared at me, manual override required. Of course it did. Power fluctuated every time the hull flexed. Too many systems were failing at once. I grabbed the lever with both hands and yanked. It groaned but didn't move. Another deep, dragging shudder rippled through the station. Dust drifted from the ceiling. A pipe somewhere in the distance ruptured with a metallic snap. "Hurry!" I whispered to myself, digging my heels into the slippery floor. I pulled again, harder. This time the lever gave an inch, then another, metal screeching in protest. Behind me, the station moaned like a sinking ship. One more pull. I threw my entire weight backward. Clank. The door slid open just enough for me to squeeze through, then jammed halfway, crooked, groaning under pressure distortions. I forced myself through the gap, scraping my shoulder on the frame, and stumbled into the docking bay. What I saw stopped me cold. The bay was flooded in faint blue light. Not from the failing emergency lamps, but from outside the massive viewing window. Something enormous hovered just beyond the glass. At first I thought it was a whale, but the shape was wrong. Too angular. Too smooth. Too intentional. A structure? A vessel? Lights pulsed along its length like bioluminescent veins, moving in that same rhythmic pattern. Pause. The console behind me crackled to life. "We are here. Do not fear." I stepped toward the window, heart pounding. "Are you a ship?" I asked, breath fogging my visor. A long pulse of light rippled through the object, illuminating its full outline. It wasn't just large. It was vast. A dark, elegant form, part organic, part mechanical, its surface shifting like living metal. Smaller shapes drifted around it like satellites or companions. And then I realized. The knock on the base wasn't an attack. They were trying to get my attention. The station groaned again. This time the floor buckled upward beneath my feet. I fell to one knee as water sprayed from a rupture in the far corner. Time was gone. I staggered toward the pressure suit locker. Only one suit remained, patched, old, but intact. I yanked it free and pulled it on, securing the helmet and engaging the internal oxygen tank. The speakers blared with a final flood of translated text. Hull failure. Imminent. We open dock. For you. A deep rumble vibrated through the bay. Then a sound like tearing metal. The outer doors of the docking tunnel began to peel open, not from mechanical function, but from an external force gently pulling them apart. Water surged into the tunnel, but held at bay by a shimmering field of light, the same color as the lights on the vessel outside. They were creating a passage. An exit. For me. I stood at the threshold, suit sealed, heart pounding. A lifeline from something impossible. Something that answered my signal. I stepped into the docking tunnel. Behind me, Deep Wave Station let out a final, tortured groan. A sound that told me the ocean would claim it within seconds. Ahead of me, the lights pulsed. Pause. Come. The docking tunnel filled with a deep, humming blue light. It shimmered, bending water away from me like an invisible shield. I had no idea how it worked. It wasn't energy I recognized. It wasn't pressure-resistant plating or any known aquatic tech. It felt alive. Each step I took made the light pulse gently beneath my boots, like it was reacting to my presence. Behind me, Deep Wave Station groaned one last time. A long, low, metal death cry swallowed instantly by the crushing ocean around it. I didn't look back. If I did, I wasn't sure I'd keep moving. Ahead, the tunnel opened into open water. The shimmering field curved upward, forming a bubble-like corridor leading toward the massive structure, the living vessel, waiting in the dark. My suit vibrated with a soft alert. Heart rate elevated. Oxygen levels stable. Good. Because my heart was trying to escape my chest. As I stepped beyond the final safety arch of the station, the entire sea around me changed. The water brightened, not naturally, but illuminated by the enormous vessel ahead. It pulsed with waves of soft light rolling across its surface, shifting from deep blue to turquoise to a gentle teal that matched the heartbeat pattern they kept sending me. A welcoming rhythm. Pause. The translation unit flickered. You safe? With US. Come closer. A shape detached from the main vessel. A smaller, sleek form gliding toward me like a manta ray made of metal and light. It slowed as it approached, maintaining a respectful distance, drifting left to reveal what looked like an entry gate on the larger structure. The gate was an oval of soft white glow, bordered by intricate patterns that shifted like flowing script. I swallowed, my voice trembling in my helmet. Are you taking me somewhere? The reply came instantly. We take you home. I blinked. Confusion twisted through my chest. Home? My home is gone. Another soft pulse of light rippled along the vessel's hull. We know. But not all ends are the same. I didn't fully understand, but exhaustion was catching up to me, physical, emotional, all of it. My station was gone. My world above might not even know I survived. And something in the deep had come for me. Had listened. Had answered. The mantle-like craft drifted closer, nudging gently at the shimmering corridor wall, causing it to peel open to allow passage. A pathway. A choice. I took a slow breath, fogging my visor. All right, I whispered. I'm trusting you. The lights pulsed softly. We trust you too. I stepped through the opening. The blue field folded behind me like a closing curtain, sealing out the crushing weight of the ocean. I drifted closer to the vessel's glowing gate, each step weightless and surreal as I realized. I wasn't walking anymore. I was being carried. Gravity faded. Sound dulled. Light wrapped around me like a cocoon. As the gate widened, a soft warmth pressed against my suit, lifting me gently off my feet. My last view of the ocean was a vast expanse of darkness dotted with turquoise lights. Watching me. Guiding me. Inviting me in. Then the gate swallowed me whole. The moment I passed through the glowing gate, the noise of the ocean vanished. Pressure, movement, the distant groaning of the dying station. All gone. Silence. Not empty silence. A warm, living kind of stillness, like standing in the center of a heartbeat. Light enveloped me in soft waves of blue and white, carrying me down a narrow corridor that curved gently upward. I floated weightless, suspended by an energy I couldn't name. My suit oxygen sensors ping. Environment breathable? Unknown, helmet sealed. Breathable? At 7 miles deep? Impossible. Unless I wasn't 7 miles deep anymore. The corridor widened suddenly, opening into a vast chamber. My breath caught. The interior of the vessel wasn't metal or machinery. It was alive. Not in a frightening biological way, but in the way coral reefs or bioluminescent plankton feel alive, glowing softly in perfect harmony. Towering structures flowed upward like columns made of light and shifting silver. Walls pulsed gently with color, as if responding to my presence. Thread-like strands drifted in the air, soft, luminescent filaments that curled away when I neared, almost shy. This place wasn't just built. It was grown. The corridor released me, lowering me gently onto a smooth platform. Gravity returned gradually, settling under my feet like a soft cushion. A circular pattern beneath me lit up. Pause. They were still sending my signal. But now it felt like language. A panel on the far wall split open seamlessly, and a shape emerged, not humanoid, but elegant, like a manta ray folding itself into a smaller form. Its surface shifted from blue to white as it approached, wings trailing soft light. It hovered at my eye level. Then, a voice, in perfect clarity, filled my helmet. "Do not be afraid." I staggered backward. This wasn't the broken translation from before. This was correct. Clear. Intentional. My mouth went dry. You can speak?" The being tilted slightly, as if amused. "We have learned your patterns. You broadcast for many cycles. We listened. Cycles. Days? Weeks? Longer?" I swallowed. "You heard my distress signal. We heard your loneliness." Those 4 words hit harder than anything yet. The being drifted closer and extended one faintly glowing wing, brushing it lightly against the shattered plating on my arm from the earlier fall. "You were the last at your depth. Alone. Failing." I exhaled shakily. "That station, it was collapsing. If you hadn't come, you would have joined the quiet below." "The quiet?" The being dimmed slightly, like lowering its voice. "This ocean is not empty. It remembers. It listens. Sometimes it answers." My heartbeat quickened. What was causing the pressure spikes? The shaking? The being's lights rippled with a deeper tone. "Something old awakens beneath the tectonic fold. Something not meant to rise." My skin prickled. "So you rescued me because—" It pulsed gently. "Because you called. And because we are not what rises." A tremor passed through the chamber. A distant rumble from outside the vessel. The being shifted direction sharply, its lights turning sharper, more focused. "It is moving again. We must leave these depths." "Leave?" I stepped forward. "Leave to where?" The being's light brightened, spreading across the walls, activating a pathway toward another chamber. "Away from the deep. Toward where your kind can breathe." A beat. Then, "Toward where they cannot follow." The floor gently lifted beneath my feet, carrying me toward the vessel's core. Behind me, the being followed, its lights forming the familiar pattern. Pause. The last signal. My signal. our signal. The floor beneath my boots shifted again, lifting smoothly toward an arch opening that glowed with layers of shifting blue and white. A soft hum filled the chamber, steady, rhythmic, like some immense engine powering up. But it didn't feel mechanical. It felt alive. The mantle-like being drifted beside me, almost guiding the platform upward with subtle shifts of its glowing wings. Every time its lights pulsed, the walls around us responded, rippling softly, like the vessel breathed with it. I tightened my grip on a railing that formed out of the floor as if sensing my unease. "Where are we going?" I asked, voice small in the vast space. The being's reply filled my helmet. "Up. Away from the deep fold. Away from what stirs." The tremor I'd felt earlier returned, stronger now, like a distant roar muffled by pressure and distance. Even inside the alien vessel, the vibration rattled through my bones. "What is waking down there?" I whispered. The being dimmed, its lights flickering with something like caution. "Not for your kind to meet. Not for mine to disturb. It is older than water. It remembers the shaping of pressure. It rises hungry." My skin went cold beneath the suit. So the quakes. The station collapsing. The ocean was warning you. I swallowed hard. We passed through a final archway, and suddenly the walls around us peeled back, revealing open ocean, impossibly bright through a shimmering barrier that shielded us from the crushing pressure. I staggered in awe. Outside the barrier, the vessel's exterior unfolded like a flower of light, layer after layer of glowing structures shifting into place, forming a vast protective shell. Below us, the seafloor was no longer still. Cracks split the sediment, releasing plumes of silt and bubbles that spiraled upward violently. Something enormous moved beneath the layers of sediment. A shadow the size of a city. A shadow that moved. My pulse raced. "What is that?" The being's voice lowered. "A memory of the planet. A remnant of shaping. It should not be waking." A deep bellow, so low it felt like it came from inside my chest, rolled through the trench. The water outside rippled violently, warping the light. Pressure spikes flashed across my visor HUD despite the vessel's shielding. Extreme seismic disturbance. Pressure variation, critical. Suggested ascent. The being pulsed sharply. "Hold." The entire vessel shuddered as something locked into place. A ring of glowing structures rotating around the hull. Then, the ocean outside shifted upward. No, not the ocean. We were rising. Faster than any submersible could ascend. My stomach lurched as the massive dark shape below twisted, stretching upward like a colossal limb pushing through stone. "What if it follows us?" I whispered. The being drifted closer, wrapping me in a soft glow. "It does not rise for us. It rises because the world above calls it." "The surface? Humans?" "No." A long pause. Something else. Something returned. I stared through the glowing barrier as the vessel surged upward, the crushing weight of the deep beginning to lighten. Bubbles spiraled around us like ascending stars. The being's lights pulsed again. Pause. My signal. Our signal. A warning. A guide. A path upward. As the last of the trench disappeared into swirling blackness below, the being spoke again, gentler now. "You are not meant to face the deep alone. Few ever are." The vessel accelerated, and a faint glow appeared far above. Light. The first real light I'd seen in months. The surface. And whatever waited beyond it. The faint glow above grew brighter with every passing second. Not the cold artificial lights of Deep Wave Station. Not the bioluminescence of deep-sea life. This was sunlight. Warm, natural, and possibly distant sunlight filtering down from the world I once knew. My throat tightened. I hadn't realized how much I missed it. The vessel rose faster, and the water outside shifted from pitch black to a dark navy, then to blue, deep, rich, familiar. The crushing pressure eased around us, though my suit stayed sealed, its systems recalibrating to shallower depths. The mantle-like being drifted at my side, glowing softly. "You fear what wakes below," it said quietly. "I'd be insane not to." I breathed. "Fear is wise. But your world does not end there." I swallowed. "What do you mean?" Its lights rippled. Gentle, like someone choosing their words. "The deep carries old memories. But the surface carries new ones. And something has returned above that disturbs the balance." "Something, like what?" I asked. Before it could answer, the vessel shuddered, not from pressure, but from impact. No, not impact. Breaking free of the thermocline, we launched upward into a brighter layer of ocean, where sunlight danced like 1,000 shifting mirrors. Then, shadows. Large ones. Shapes moving above us. I stepped closer to the barrier, heart pounding. What are those?" As we neared the brighter water, forms became clearer, long limbs, drifting shapes, silhouettes too symmetrical to be natural. At first I thought they were ships. Then I noticed the movements, slow, deliberate. Alive. My breath caught. Humanoid, but not human. Dozens of them drifting lazily through the sunlit water, silhouettes like guardians made of shimmering glass. Their bodies refracted light into rainbows, and wherever they moved, fish spiraled out of their way as if obeying a silent command. They formed a perimeter around the vessel, watching for something above or below. The being beside me dimmed slightly. Surface sentinels. They awakened with us. "With us?" I echoed, pulse quickening. "With our ascent. With your signal." "My signal did this?" "All signals call something." We continued rising, the water growing clearer until sunlight poured down in bright, rippling sheets. The sentinels followed, circling us like silent guardians. My heart thudded. "What happens when we reach the surface?" For the first time, the being paused. Its lights dimmed, then brightened again, shifting through a spectrum of soft colors. Hesitation? Emotion? I couldn't tell. Finally. "The world is changed." "How changed?" I whispered. "Enough that you will not recognize it fully." A tremor of dread ran through me. "And are there humans up there? Survivors?" The being's reply was slow, almost sorrowful. "Yes. But not as you left them." The surface drew closer, just a few hundred meters above now, sunlight blazing through the water like a halo. Something massive moved in that brightness. A shadow. A shape. A structure. My heart skipped. "What is that?" The being hovered beside me, its glow softening. "The place your kind built to escape what rises." "Escape?" My pulse hammered. "Are we welcome there?" It pulsed gently. "You are the one who called. They will know your signal." A chill worked its way up my spine. Asked quietly, "What if they don't?" The being's lights shifted, forming the signal pattern once more. Pause. "Then we will not let you face them alone." The surface rushed toward us. The world above waited. Changed. Awakened. Listening. And I, the last engineer of Deep Wave Station, rose toward a future shaped by a signal I never meant to send. The vessel slowed as we neared the final stretch of water. That shimmering boundary where the ocean stops and air begins. Sunbeams pierced the waves above like golden spears, dancing across the hull. The manta being drifted closer. "Breathe steady. The ascent may disorient." "Disorient how?" I asked. But before it could answer, we broke the surface. Not violently. Not like a submarine bursting upward. It was silent, smooth, almost reverent. Water slid off the vessel in shimmering sheets as we emerged into open air for the first time in I didn't know how long. My helmet adjusted instantly, filtering the sudden brightness. Even through the visor, daylight hit me with a force that made my chest tighten. Blue sky. Real sky. Clouds drifting lazily. Waves glistening in sunlit ripples. I had forgotten what color, true color, looked like. Then my eyes adjusted, and I understood why the being had warned me. The ocean's surface was not empty. All around us, stretching into the horizon, were structures, massive floating platforms linked together by glimmering metallic bridges. Some were the size of cities, rising from the sea like artificial islands. Others drifted freely, adorned with antenna towers, turbines, and solar arrays. They looked advanced, far beyond anything I recognized. My heart pounded. What is this place? The being drifted beside me, wings folding inward. The Renewal Fleet. The what? Your kind built them. When the deep began to shift and signals failed, they moved many to the surface shelters. Far from the trenches. Far from what wakes. My knees went weak. Humans had survived. Not just a handful. Many. Civilizations afloat. But something felt wrong. Why didn't they respond to my distress calls? I whispered. The being turned slowly, its mantle-like wings shimmering with a somber glow. Because your signal came too late. A cold chill slid down my spine. Too late for what? Before the being could answer, a low hum rolled across the surface. Not from the vessel beneath me, but from the sky. I looked up and froze. A formation of sleek aircraft, triangular, silent, gleaming, shot across the sky in perfect formation. Their undersides pulsed with blue energy, reflecting across the sea. These aren't ours, I whispered. They looked alien. Or evolved far beyond modern technology. The manta being answered. Your people force themselves to evolve quickly. Crises do that. The aircraft banked and angled toward us, sunlight blinding off their polished surfaces. A deep, resonant horn echoed from one of the nearby floating cities. A warning tone, long and trembling. They've seen us, I muttered. They have seen me, the being corrected. My heart spiked. Will they attack you? They will try. Why? You saved me. The being drifted closer, lowering itself to my level. Its voice softened. Fear rises with ignorance. They do not understand us. A shadow swept across the vessel as one of the aircraft passed overhead, circling like a hawk. My breathing quickened. What do we do? The being pulsed the signal, gentle, steady. Pause. My signal. The one the world above once abandoned. We show them you are with us, it said quietly. Only then will they listen. Another horn blared. Closer this time. A second wave of aircraft emerged from behind a towering platform. The manta being's glow intensified. Elias Ward. Are you ready to be seen? I swallowed hard. Because ready or not, the world I left behind was coming straight for me. The aircraft tightened their formation, three sleek silhouettes carving clean lines across the sky. The hum from their engines deepened, quiet but powerful, nothing like the roar of jets I remembered. These machines didn't force themselves through the air. They glided through it. Controlled. Precise. Almost intelligent. The manta being hovered at my side, wings folding in a protective arc. Do not step back, it said softly. If you retreat, they will think you fear them. Fear invites aggression. I'm terrified, I whispered. Good. That means you will choose your steps carefully. The nearest aircraft descended, disrupting the water with a controlled downward draft. A hatch on its underside irised open, revealing a platform that lowered toward the ocean, smooth, metallic, reflective. A figure stood on it. Human. Tall, wrapped in a sleek exosuit with strips of light tracing their arms and chest. Their face was hidden behind a reflective visor that mirrored the shining sky. They raised the device, flat, palm-sized, toward the manta being first, then toward me. A scanning gesture. Slow and deliberate. The manta being's voice echoed calmly. They are reading your biosignature. Confirming you are what you appear to be. What does that mean? I asked. That you are human. The aircraft circled wider, forming a loose perimeter around the vessel. More platforms descended, each carrying another suit-clad figure. Within moments, a small contingent stood above the water, staring down at me and my unlikely companion. One figure stepped forward, the leader, by posture alone. Their voice crackled through an external speaker. "Identify yourself." I swallowed hard, helmet still sealed. "My name is Elias Ward," I called out. "Marine engineer of Deepwave Station. I survived a collapse." The group murmured among themselves, short, confused exchanges. Then the leader spoke again. "Deepwave? That facility went dark months ago. No signs of life remained." My chest tightened. "I know," I said. "I tried to contact the surface. No one answered." The leader hesitated then. "We received a signal. But it wasn't human-coded." My stomach dropped. They hadn't ignored me. They just didn't recognize the transmission. I turned slowly to the Manta-being. It pulsed gently. Pause. My signal. Transformed. A bridge between two worlds. The leader shifted uneasily. "Elias Ward. Step away from the entity." The Manta-being dimmed. "Do not." My heart raced as the aircraft above adjusted their positions, preparing, maybe, to fire. I lifted both hands. "He saved my life," I shouted. "When the station collapsed, when the trench started to shift, nothing on Earth could have reached me. He did." The leader paused, then spoke with a warning edge. "You are under the influence of an unknown organism. Step away and we will extract you safely." "He's not controlling me," I yelled. He answered a distress call no one else heard. Weapons on two aircraft glowed faintly. "Charging?" The Manta-being moved closer, its wings curling protectively around me. "They fear what they do not know." The water beneath us vibrated, deep, resonant. Not from the aircraft. From below. The trench. The thing that woke. A shockwave rippled across the sea. The aircraft wobbled, their stabilizers compensating. The leader turned sharply, hand raised. "Seismic event detected. Whatever is below us is still moving." Another wave hit, stronger. The floating platforms in the distance groaned as their stabilizers strained. The sky flickered, briefly interrupted by a pulse of energy from the ocean itself. The Manta-being lifted its wings fully, glowing bright. "If they strike me, they will not survive what rises." My breath caught. "What do you mean?" "Your people built shelters above the sea, but the sea is no longer safe." A final, bone-deep tremor shook the water. The leader steadied himself and pointed directly at me. "Elias Ward, tell us now. Did you bring this thing from the depths?" All eyes turned to me. The aircraft. The soldiers. The being beside me. And beneath us, the ocean roared again. I exhaled slowly, heart pounding. A choice. A truth. A warning. The water trembled again, hard enough to ripple the horizon. Every aircraft above us lurched, stabilizers whining. The floating cities in the distance shuddered, support pylons groaning under the pressure. Something enormous was rising beneath us. Not fast. Not chaotic. But with the slow, unstoppable certainty of a tide that had waited 1,000 years to return. The leader shouted into their comms. "All units prepare, unknown object breaching." The Manta-being's voice filled my helmet, calm amid the chaos. "Elias Ward. They cannot face this alone." "Neither can I whispered. "You will not." The creature drifted closer, wings curling around me like a protective shell. The leader pointed again. "Step away from it now." But I shook my head. "They didn't bring this," I said. "They didn't wake it. It was already rising. This being is the only reason any of us are still alive." A deep rumble cut through the ocean. The sound of the seafloor splitting. A towering column of dark water surged upward miles away, shooting into the air like a geyser. Gasps crackled through the soldiers' comms. The Manta-being spoke softly, clearly. "You sent signals into the dark. Something else heard them. We came first. The sky dimmed as the massive shadow beneath us unfurled. Not a monster. Not a creature. A structure. An ancient formation shaped by pressure and time, rising like a forgotten monument. Its surface glowed faintly with shifting patterns, echoes of a world the deep still remembered. The leader's voice broke. "What is that?" The manta being pulsed gently. "The memory of your world. A reminder. It rises when balance is broken. Can we stop it?" I asked. "No. But you can calm it." "Me?" "Your signal reached deeper than you knew." It answered something old. "You must send one more." My throat tightened. "What do I send?" The being glowed brighter, its voice soft. "Truth." I exhaled, lifted my helmet's emergency broadcast override, and tapped the same sequence I'd been sending for months. My last signal. Pause. Not a distress call. A message. A recognition. A promise that we were still here. Still listening. Still alive. The rising shadow paused. The ocean stilled. Even the air above fell silent. Then, slowly, the massive formation sank back into the depths, folding into the trench like a peaceful giant returning to sleep. The water calmed. The sky brightened. The soldiers stared breathless. The leader lowered their weapon. "Elias Ward," they said quietly. "Whatever just happened?" "You stopped it." I shook my head. "No. I just spoke its language." The manta being drifted upward, wings shimmering in soft relief. "Your world remembers its caretakers. Sometimes they are above. Sometimes below." I looked at the soldiers, at the floating cities, at the endless horizon. "Am I allowed to come with you?" I asked them. The leader hesitated, then extended a hand. "Welcome home." I turned to the manta being. "Will I see you again?" Its lights pulsed in a pattern now familiar. Warm, gentle. Pause. "When you call." The vessel dipped beneath the waves, returning to the deep. And I, the last engineer of Deep Wave Station, rose into a world not lost, but changed. A world stitched together by signals from above and below. A world still listening. A new beginning. A new home. A new signal. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your favorite part. It helps the channel so much. And if you want more Last Signal stories, there are many more on the way. Good night.